So in the last class, we started with identifying web elements using locators or identifiers in Selenium. Okay, so we discussed about what all are the different identifiers or locators, and we came to know there are 8 identifiers and locators, which are ID, name, class name, tag name, link text, partial link text, CSS selector, and XPath. Out of these 8, we started with the first 3, which is ID, name, and class name. And we discussed that these 3 locators are directly available as an attribute in a particular web element. Okay, so we saw HTML code of, say for example, if I open facebook.com, then we also discussed about a tool known as Firebug and Firepath, which can help us in identifying elements. So here you can see when I select this, I got an input type of tag which has an ID as email, which has a class as this, and which has a name as this. So the 8 identifiers or locator I was talking about here, out of those, the first 3, ID, name, and class name, you can see are available here. So ID is email, you can use this. Class is this, so you can use this as well, and name equal to email. Okay, then in the code how to write it, let me quickly open the Eclipse. Okay, by that time Eclipse open, let's discuss about the other locators. So you can see the fourth locator which we have is tag name. Now the tag name is something which is not used much. There are few scenarios where you'll be using tag name, which we'll be discussing later on. Okay, tag name is this one only, the one which I just showed you here. This one, first one, input. So the word input, whatever you see here, this is tag name. So using tag name, it's not easy to identify element because here you can see that if I just see how many input types are there. So this is one input type. This is also an input type. This one is also of input tag. This is input tag. So all over, wherever you see where we can take some input value, that is an input type of tag. Okay, so you cannot use tag name directly. Okay, so we'll see few scenarios where we can use tag name. Then I'll move to the next one. Next we have is link text and partial link text. Now what are these two? Both of them, link text and partial link text, are used for identifying web elements using links. Okay, so let me first discuss about a link, and then I'll explain you what is link text and what is partial link text and when to use which one. Okay, so let's talk about links first. Okay, so I'll just open this demo.html in Notepad++. Okay, now here all the links are identified using something known as anchor text. Okay, so how an anchor text is written? It is written with a small a. That is what an anchor text is. Then it has a mandatory attribute known as href. What is the value of href? The value of href is the URL where you will be navigated to once you'll click on this link. Okay, so here you can see this is one attribute I have added, and the name of the attribute is href, or you can say hyperreference. Okay, so this is the value of this attribute is the link where you will be navigated to once you click on this particular link. Okay, so here you can see I just close this, and I say QA Tech Hub, and then I end the link text. I save it. When we open this in the browser, okay, so I can open it in any browser. Let's say I open it in Mozilla. You can see here a link is there. Once I click on it, you can observe that it has navigated me to QA Tech Hub. Okay, so if we talk about this in detail, so what is this? This is an anchor tag. Whenever you'll see an A tag or an anchor tag, that means that is a link. Then it's one of the attribute, which is href, and the value of this attribute is the path or the URL where you'll be navigated to once you'll click on it. Then you'd see a term. This is known as link text. So QA Tech Hub is a link text. Okay. So what is a link text? Something which appears on the screen. Okay, if I go back, you can see here what is appearing on the screen. On the screen, the what appears is QA Tech Hub. Okay, so it's a term, it's a word which is getting appeared. So that's what this is. Okay, now if I talk about how many identifiers are there for links, we have two identifiers. One is link text and second is partial link text. What is the difference between two? In the link text, we match the complete word. Here in this particular link, you can see that we have a complete word QA. Okay, so if you are matching the complete link text, then you have to use this. And if you're matching partial of it, say for example, you want to search this link based on only word tech, okay, then that is known as partial link text, where you are matching the text partially. Okay, so that's what partial link text is. So it's like link text is like a equals to method, whereas partial link text is like a contains method. I'll give you one example, one practical example where you can use partial link text. So let's say I'm navigating to a site mercurytravels.co.in, and in this, if you look at here, the term here is customer login. Okay, so I can just click on this, and I mean I can hover over this and I can go to user login. Okay, so I'll just go to user login, then I'm logging in with this username and password. So as soon as I log in, you can see the text has changed from welcome from customer login to welcome Saurabh. Now if you have to log out, you always have to go to this site and then you will navigate to log out and click on it. Right? That's what you have to do. Now how will you identify this welcome Saurabh? If I check its HTML code, if I check the HTML code of this welcome Saurabh, you'll see that again it's a link. Here you can see it has an anchor type A. It has a link which has an attribute as hash. Hash means it will be navigated to same page, and then it has some text. Welcome Saurabh. From where this Saurabh word is coming? Saurabh word is coming because Saurabh is logged in into this application. If somebody else, let's say Rupesh has logged in, then we'll see welcome comma Rupesh. Okay. So this is the reason that this is the reason. Oh, sorry. This is one scenario where you can use partial link text instead of link text, because getting the name of Saurabh is a difficult task for us. You have to get it from somewhere and then append it along with welcome, and then only you will be able to click on it. Rather than that, we can use only welcome comma as a partial link text and will be able to move to this element. So this is one example, practical example where you can use partial link text. Any questions here? Anyone, any questions? Okay, so let's see the same scenario in a real-time website. So I'll go to my web, demo.guru99.com/v4. I'll log into it. So I have the credentials. Then I'll copy the password and paste it here, and then click on login. So I have logged in. Now if you look at till this part we have already written in the code. Remember? So I'll just go to Mercury Travels, not this one. Which one is yours batch? It's 03, this one, right? So in day 5, when we were automating this Guru 99 project, in that we have written one scenario of login. Remember? So in that, let me just quickly show you how we have written that. Okay, so in the login, you can see, first of all, we identify the username and then we identify the password text box. we entered something in username. So for that we are using the method known as send keys. Okay, so on my browser, this driver is my browser. On this, I'm searching for an element using find element, and then we are passing one of the locator. That locator can be name, ID, class name, text name, a link text, partial link text, anything. Okay, and then you can perform an operation on it. So this is what we did in the login. Now today what we are going to do, we are going to see here there is an option of new customer. Once I click on new customer, a form appears. So what I have to do, I have to click on this new customer and then fill up this form. This is what I have to do. So I'll just create one more package, right click, new package, and I'll name it day 6. Okay, in day 6 we will create, I'll just copy paste this Guru 99 project and demo Guru 99, because we'll be proceeding on these two class files which we created. Okay, so I've just copy pasted them in day 6. Okay, now I'll open this day 6 Guru 99 project, and now uh, yeah, now we have written the login method. After that, we'll add one more method with name, let's say public void, and name of the method I'll put add customer. Okay, so we are going to add customer here. So first step is we have to click on this new customer. So if I see its HTML code, how this looks like. So I just opened the Firebug and then mouse over this new customer word. So you can see it's a link. You can see that a tag is there. That means it's a link which has one of the attribute, which is a mandatory attribute, that is href. What it is calling some PHP file. Okay, so even you can on clicking on this new customer, you can call some other files or some other scripts. So it is calling one page, add customer page.php. Okay, it's a PHP. It's this particular website is developed in PHP, so that's why we are getting PHP here. So this page, this form opens up. Now we have to fill up the form. So uh, let me first write this code. Okay, so here I'll say driver on my browser. Okay, so for the first time it always goes in a non-responding mode. Let it come back. So on my browser, I'll search for an element, find element by which of the locator I have to use. I have to use a locator called link text. And what is the text you are searching for? So you're searching for add customer, or sorry, new customer. Okay, so you're looking for new customers. I'll just copy this text and here we'll paste it. So using this you can identify new customer word. Okay, then okay, just add it. Then next step is what operation you want to do. You want to perform a send keys, sorry, not send keys. What you have to do, you have to click on it, right? So I'll just call a method called click. So what this will do, this method will search for a link which has a link text as new customer, and will go there and click on it. As soon as it click on it, there opens this page. So this particular form appears here. Okay, next step is we have to fill up this complete form. So let's start with the first one. I have to fill up this customer name. So I'll just identify how this customer name is there in HTML code. So it is there like an input tag which has one of the attribute as name, and then do I see any other attribute? No, I cannot see any other attribute. So it's an input type of tag which has a name. So I can use name locator. So it will be like driver dot find element by dot name, and the value of name is again name. And what operation you have to perform on it, you have to send keys what a name, say for example, so I've given this name. Okay, so this will fill up the name here. Next, we have to select gender, male or female. So let's see how this is identified. So male is by default selected. If I highlight, if I check the HTML code of female and male both, so here this line is male and this line is female. So look at both the HTML code. Both are of type input. If you look at the attribute name, so you can see that both of them has same name, rad1 and rad1. That means I cannot use name attribute because we saw that multiple elements are there with same attribute. So we cannot use this name. Otherwise, what will happen? Always it will search for the first one. Okay, whichever comes first in the page, that will be highlighted. So that means I cannot use name attribute. Then what else can you use? So if I look at the code again, HTML code again, I see that one of the attribute value is different, but we see that there is no value locator in it. Okay, and if I look at others, we have a type equal to radio, type is also same, so only one attribute is different, that is value. Here value is m, whereas here value is f. So whenever a situation like this comes that you don't have any of the locator mentioned here, name, id, name, class name or tag name cannot be used because input tags are multiple on that page. Okay, and they are not linked, then we are left with two options. One is CSS and second is XPath. We'll talk about CSS later on. Let's start with XPath. So XPath comes under rescue in this situation. Okay, whenever you have a situation where you cannot identify elements using normal locators like ID, name, class name or tag name, then we are left with only one option, and that is XPath. Okay, so let's talk about XPath. Before that, anyone has any question? Anyone, any questions? Okay, so I'll start with the XPath now. It's a very important topic. So please ask me if anything is not clear. It's a very important topic as well as it's a very vast topic. I cannot cover everything in XPath in one go. So we'll go step by step. I'll tell you the basic XPath writing today, and then going forward till last day, we'll learn something new in XPath. Okay, and I'll take one separate class for 1 hour only on XPaths. Okay, later on, not now. Let's start with the basics of XPath and then we'll have one separate class, 1 hour only for XPath. Okay, so let's start with the XPath. What is an XPath? XPath is one of the essential identifier available in Selenium WebDriver. Out of those 8 identifiers we studied earlier, ID, name, class name, name, I told you about this, that if nothing is unique, then and that web elements are not are not linked, then we are left with only either to go with CSS or XPath. Okay, so CSS is something which we'll talk about later. Then we are left with only one option, that is XPath. So let's talk about XPath. What is definition of XPath? XPath is the path written using HTML tags or XML tags. Why I'm talking about XML? Because XPath is something which is not only written for HTML pages but are also written for XML files. Okay, so if you know how to write an XPath for HTML, you can write for XML as well. But for us, for Selenium people, we need only for HTML. Okay, so I'm saying XPath is the path written using HTML tags and their attributes to reach to a particular node in an HTML page or an XML page. Okay, now there are two types of XPath. One is absolute XPath and second one is relative XPath. What is the difference between two? Absolute XPath is something which starts from the beginning of the page. Okay, that means beginning of the page means from very start. So if you look at this HTML page here, what is the first tag you see? The first tag you see is HTML. So a path which is starting from HTML, that is something known as absolute XPath. Okay. So you can see absolute XPath is something which starts from the beginning of the page. As in an HTML page, the first tag is HTML. So all absolute XPath always starts with HTML tag and then accessing immediate child to reach to a node. Then they will access their immediate child. Now what are immediate child? If you look at this HTML page here, this is the main tag, right? If you look at what comes under HTML, there are two tags which come under HTML. One is head and second is body. So what are they? This head and body are immediate childs of HTML tag. Okay. Then if I expand this body, you will see that there are many tags which are coming under body. So this div, this title, this div, this table, this p, these are immediate child of body, but are not immediate child of HTML. They are some child of HTML, but they are immediate child of body. Okay. Rupesh, you have a question. Can you explain one sibling and child? Sibling and child will come in XS part. They come later in the X path. Okay, a long journey is there. Guys, just give me a second. Just give me a second. I'm pausing for a minute. Okay, so Rupesh will talk about siblings and childs in detail later on. Let me just cover basics because this is first time we are covering here in XPath here. Okay, so you can see that I was talking about the immediate child. So you can see that this body and head are the immediate child of HTML. And okay, so if I just explain you the siblings as well here, so you can see that head and body both are at same level and both are child of HTML. So what you'll call these two? Okay, see, if somebody is a parent and that parent has two child, that means I mean the relation between both of them is like a sibling, right? So head is a sibling of body and same body is a sibling of head. Okay, just like in real world we have a younger sibling and we have an elder sibling. So here we don't have a concept of elder and younger, but we have a concept of preceding sibling and following sibling. So head is the preceding sibling, body is a following sibling. Why? Because body comes after head. Okay, so HTML is one tag where we have two child, immediate child, head and body, and they are sibling to each other. Head is a preceding sibling, whereas body is following sibling. So we'll talk about this later when we'll cover X's. If I just expand body, you can see there are many more tags in it. They in themselves they are siblings to each other. Then body is their immediate parent. Okay, or you can say uh, these divs title and these tables are immediate child of body and they are some child of HTML. Okay, so this is a relation between all these. Now to identify or to find out any XPath, I discussed about this HTML tab. There is one more tab known as firepath. You can go to this firepath. This helps you in identifying XPath. Okay, so just one recommendation from my side, one suggestion: don't use the direct XPath which firepath gives you. Start writing your own XPath. That's what you have to learn. Okay, so here you can see that I have this page with me. So if I search for any web element, this one, look at what is coming in this box. This is an example of absolute XPath. See from where it is starting. It is starting from the starting of the page. That is HTML. Then we are using a single slash to access the immediate child of HTML. Which is the immediate child of HTML? So we saw that here the immediate child of this HTML was body. So here you can see we have a body. Then if I expand body, then you can see that these are the elements which are immediate child of this body. So next I have accessed one of immediate child, that is table. So I went inside table. Then we have T body. So here you can see we have a T body. Then inside that there is a TR. Inside that there is a TD. So here you can see there is a TD. Then we have a table. So here you can see there is a table. And like this, you'll keep on expanding till the point you reach to your web element. Okay, so here you can see last web element, last node or last HTML tag you see is input. That means I was trying to reach to this input type of tag. So this is one example of absolute XPath. Clear? Any questions?
Hello.
Yanishta,
Can you please explain it again?
the complete path?
Yes, yes. You told HTML immediate child is body. Sorry, head. But now you are
No, I
telling
said
head body is
no. I said that there are two immediate childs. This HTML has two immediate child. One is head and second is body. Okay, so
yes,
look at both of them. They are both the child of head, right?
yes, yes. HTML.
Similarly, if I expand body, then all these are immediate child of body. So that's what I'm doing. I wanted to reach to this input. Then how I'm doing, I started with HTML. So as I told you that always an absolute XPath starts from HTML. So it started with HTML. Then using the single slash, you can access the immediate child. So I just put a single slash and then I accessed one of its immediate child. We have two, I accessed one of the two. Okay. Then inside this body I want to access this tag, that is table. So I just put slash table, then slash the body slash, like this you'll just keep on putting the forward slash and reach to input tag. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions, anyone? Okay, now there is one issue with this tag. Can anyone think of what could be the possible drawback using this? Okay, so one of the drawback which I can think of is that let's say your developer, you got some requirement, you're developing your code, I mean your developers are developing your code, and they got a requirement and they want to insert something in between this complete XPath. Okay, in this complete XPath, let's say this row which you see here, this is the first row. If you're not putting any index here, you can see I'm putting an index with this with a particular row. This tr I have, and then I'm passing in the square bracket, I'm passing 4. That means I'm accessing fourth row. If I just show you here, uh, if you see in this t body, we have multiple rows, one, two, three, four, fourth row, right? So the fourth row is the one which we are going inside. Okay, so what I'm saying is, let's say something new added and there was one more row which was added. That means now it become a fifth row. So if your requirements are changing frequently, as just Sai said, if your page is changing very frequently, then these XPath is likely to break. Okay, you'll not be able to use absolute XPath if even a single tag is added in between. You have to update your XPath. That means it is not a good way of writing locator or using locator. Okay, then we have another option, and the other option is using a relative XPath. So what is a relative XPath? Now, unlike absolute XPath, relative XPath starts from anywhere on the page. They don't start from the starting. They start from anywhere on the page. Okay. Now to actually start writing this relative XPath, let's talk about this double slash first. What is this double slash? I talked about single slash, and single slash we just discussed that single slash is something which is used to access immediate child. Then what is this absolute XPath? Sorry, what is this double slash? Double slash is used to access any child of a tag. Say for example, here you can see in this particular page, here you can see when I search for this, after this HTML, that is either I have a head or I have a body. Okay, so if I just remove this body, then also this XPath is working fine. Why? Because in head there is no table, so it will not go inside this head. It will just directly go inside the next tag. Then if I just remove this table also, or this tr till this td, if I remove everything, okay, then also you'll see that the same element is accessing, because some of the elements, okay, are not, are obvious, you can say. So what it will do, how it works is, the XPath traverse in each element one by one and look for the first matching node. If it finds that matching node, then it's fine. Otherwise, it will move to the next tag and go inside that. Okay, so this double slash you can see here, this is used for accessing any child, not the parent, not the immediate child, but any child. Okay, and if you put this double slash in the start, that means it is searching for the first matching node, whatever you pass. Say for example, I put double slash input, that means I'm searching for input type of tag anywhere on the page. So as soon as I press enter, you can see 12 matching nodes are coming. That means there are 12 input type of elements on this page. Okay, and I have not put HTML or anything. I'm just starting with the double slash. That means this is, we are searching anywhere on the page. Okay, we are not giving the exact path. We are giving some path. Okay, so this is one of the example of relative XPath. As I just told you about the relative XPath. So relative XPath start from anywhere on the page. Double slash is used to access any child of the parent tag. If we talk about the basic syntax of relative XPath, then this is the basic syntax. Here we have double slash, then an HTML tag, and then in the square bracket you will be passing one of the attribute and its value. So uh, here you can see I'll put a double slash input and press enter. You can see all the input type of tags are highlighted. Then in the square bracket, I'm passing one of the attribute. Let's say one of the attribute is, if you remember when I wanted to search for this radio buttons, I had one attribute value, and the value of that value attribute was either female or male. So if I put F, press enter, you can see female is selected. So look at this. This is the attribute I am using. So what is the basic syntax? Double slash and then the name of the attribute, sorry, the name of the tag, and then in the square bracket pass any one of the attribute. Okay, so one of the attribute I passed is at value equal to F. So this highlighted the female radio button. If I just change it to M, you will see that the other one is highlighted. Okay, so if I change it back to F, the female is highlighted. And this is very basics of XPath. Any questions, anyone? So if I quickly give you a recap, what is a relative XPath? Relative XPath is something which starts from anywhere on the page. We use double slash. Double slash is used to access any child of a parent tag, not the immediate one. If we put double slash in the start, that means they are searching anywhere on the page. So that's where it starts, you can say. Okay, so I said double slash. If I talk about the basic syntax, the basic syntax is double slash input, and that means you're searching for a input type of tag. Any questions, anyone? Okay, so there is a lot to cover in XPath, but now we are in a situation to use this, and we can select one of the radio button. I'll complete that, and then we'll discuss about other things later on. Okay, so this is the basics of XPath, what we have covered. Next is driver dot find element by dot link, sorry, by dot XPath, and the value of XPath is whatever I've copied, and what you have to perform, you just want to click on it. Okay, so I just clicked on this radio button, and after that I have to uh, enter the date of birth, address, city, state, PIN number, mobile number, email address, and password. So whatever you see here, whatever rest things you see here, they all have a name attribute. If I go back to HTML and if I start looking at it, you can see all of them are like, see here, it also has a name attribute, so I can use by dot name. The next box you see, address, this also has a name. So name equal to ADDR and so on. So whatever you see on this page, every attribute, all the web elements has a name attribute. Okay, so just to save time, I'm copy pasting these things from one of my old project. Okay, let me just take out. You can write them yourself to get a to do a practice. Okay, so I'm just copy pasting rest of the things, and there is one thing which I have to explain that I'll explain now. Okay, so what I've done is just entered date of birth, then place. So in place, if you see the address here, ADDR, this one, this address here, we can write anything. Like, so I want to write just two things, Gurgaon, and then an enter, and then Haryana. Okay, so here I'm writing Gurgaon and Haryana in separate lines, right? So here you can see that when I wanted to put a new line, I just put a single slash n. Okay, backward slash and n. Okay, then this is for new line. Okay, Sai, you have a question. Can we also see an example of selecting date by XPath as they are dynamic? Yes, that is something which is planned. I'll take it up. This is not the right time because there is many things to be covered before going on to date picker. So I'll discuss different types of date pickers and how to access them. Okay. So this is to enter the address. Here we enter the address. Currently I'm passing the date just as a text. Okay, so I'm just passing it as a text. Then address, then city, name of the place. Okay, after that PIN number and then mobile number. And then if you look at, there is one more, that is email ID. So if you see here, this email ID is something uh, which it expects a unique every time. So whenever we log into this, whenever we are filling up this form, it expects a new email ID every time. So that means we have to write that part in a logic so that we can, uh, we have to write that part in a logic so that we can, every time I run the script, I can pass a random unique email ID. Okay, so for that I have written a small uh, way how you can do that. Okay, so before that, can anyone think of what is something which is unique in the world? So what is my requirement? I want a unique random email ID every time. Okay, so can you think of any one way you can generate a random unique ID? Anyone? Yes, as Rupesh said, timestamp. So that's what I'm using here. If you look at here, the email ID what I'm generating, I'm saying double A, some text, and then I'm calling one method system.current time in milliseconds. So what it gives us an it gives us a number, a timestamp which is always unique, and then we are appending at gmail.com after it. So this generates a random email ID every time. Okay, so I'm just printing to show you, and that's what I'm passing here. Okay, so I'll show you how this system.current time in milliseconds looks like, and after that we are just passing the other things like password, and then we are clicking on submit button. Okay, so this is how you can fill up this complete form. Okay, any questions here? Let me run this scenario. Okay, so in the demo guru 99, after login, I'll just add this guru dot add customer as well, and will execute this code. It has not executed. I guess it has started. Okay, just a second. What happened? So you can see it has started executing. So you can see it has started filling up the complete form. Look at the Gmail email ID. It generated some random email ID. So look at this. It appended double A and then a random email ID it generated, random number it generated. This is actually the timestamp, and at gmail.com was appended. So if I hover over this, what this command says, when I have this email ID, before that I'm generating this. So when I hover over this current time milliseconds, what it says, look at what it says. It says returns the current time in milliseconds. Not that while the unit of the time is milliseconds. Okay, that is something which is given, and some other information is given, some extra information. But it also tells us one more thing. If I just check, yeah. So what it returns, see the return type. The difference measured in milliseconds between the current time, that is the present time at the time this is running, and midnight of January 1, 1970. So it is always giving a number which is a difference between the time which is there currently and the time what was there on January 1, 1970. So there is a difference which is coming. Okay, so that will always be unique because this difference will keep on growing, right? So you'll always get a number which will always be a unique number. So that's how I generated one random unique email ID. This is one of the important interview question. Like people may ask you this question that how you can generate a random unique ID every time. So your answer should be that we can use timestamp, and in Java one of the method is system.current time in milliseconds. Clear? Any questions, anyone? Okay. So if you don't have any other questions, I can move on to the next scenario. So here you can see we have a table. Like after I filled up the complete form, I got a table. If you look at this table in the in the fifth row, one, two, three, four, fourth row, we have a customer ID, and this is customer ID which is getting generated in this particular table only, right? So after filling up the form, let's say after filling up this complete form, okay, after filling up this complete form, okay, what is okay, name is left, and I'm sorry, my bad. So after I fill up this complete form, you can see that I got a table, and then in this table at the fourth row, I want to get this value of this customer ID. So this is what I want. Okay, so again, I'm giving you next example or next level of XPath. We'll start writing next level of XPath. Okay, very important scenario because this you'll be using whenever you have to deal with a table. So if I right click and say inspect element, you can see that the HTML code which you see here, it has a TD because it is one of the column or one of the cell of a table. It is a TD which has a value, right? It does not have any ID, it does not have any name or any other attribute. That means directly I cannot identify this particular cell. Okay, I have to identify something and then I have to reach to this. Okay, so this is so for this what we'll do, if you look at this HTML code, I see that there is a table. This TD comes under this table. So if I identify this table, and then with respect to that, if I go to a particular web element, then I'll be able to reach to this particular column. So what I'll do, I'll go to my this fire path, and here I'll simply say double slash, as I'm looking for table, I'll say double slash table. You can see that two tables are getting highlighted. Look at the first one. The first one is this one, which has an ID I mean reg msg, reg message, something like this. This is the ID. And look at the second table. Second table has an ID customer. Okay, which one we are looking for? We are looking for inner table. So by passing one of the attribute, and the attribute is ID. If I pass this attribute customer here, you can see that the table customer table is highlighted. Right now, so we have identified this table uniquely. Now with respect to this particular tag, we can go inside. If I just expand the HTML code, okay, one of the immediate child we have is tbody. So with respect to this, with respect to this, if I'll put slash tbody and press enter, you can see, okay, what happened. Okay, just a second. Double slash table in the square bracket, it is at id equal to customer. So I identified the table. Now with respect to this, I'm going, so I'll say tbody So you can see I'm in T body. Inside that table, I'm in T body. So that means what I'm doing with respect to this table tag, I'm accessing its one of its immediate child. Then slash, I'll say tr. You can see all the rows are highlighted. Look at here, all the rows of that table are highlighted. Which one you want? I want the fourth one, so in the index I'll pass 4. So you can see fourth row is highlighted. Now in fourth row, if I say slash td, you can see both the columns are highlighted. Okay, so which column you need? You need the second column. So in the square bracket, I'll pass 2. So I'll reach to the second column. One point to remember, the index of tables starts with 1, not from 0. Okay, so people make this mistake. They start it from 0, but actually they starts from 1, not from 0. Clear? Any questions, anyone? Did you got how I've written this XPath? Yes, Susie, I'll repeat the flow again. See, what we wanted was we wanted to search for this particular row. When I this particular column of this fourth row. Okay, when I looked at its HTML code, I found out that this particular column, it just has a tag td. Okay, and there are hundreds of td. I cannot use td as it is, right? So what I did, I searched for something which is unique. As this td comes under a table and that table can be identified uniquely, so I searched for that table first. So I got this table, right? So how you will write table, double slash table, and then in the square bracket you will pass one of the attribute. So one of the attribute it had was id. I can use that id. I got this table. Now with respect to this table, I want to go to the particular column, and all these rows and columns are child of this table, right? So to access child, we have either single slash or we have double slash. To access immediate child, we have a single slash. To access any child, we have double slash. When I opened this, I saw that there is one t body, so I can say here I can simply say single slash and then t body. As soon as I press enter, I reached in the HTML code, I reached to this t body. Then I put single slash tr, because if I just open this td, you will see that there are many rows. So I put slash tr. As soon as I press enter, I see that all the rows are highlighted. Okay. Now which row we want? We want fourth row. So I passed an index 4 here. So I reached to the fourth row. Okay, now at the fourth row, which column you want? See, if I simply say slash td, it will identify both the columns. Which one you want? You want the second one, right? So I'll simply pass an index 2 here, and it will highlight the second column for you. Okay, so any questions, anyone? This is how you will identify a table, but look at this table. This table is a static table. In this table, you know at exact which location you will get your value. Okay, but that's not the case every time. So going forward, one of the scenario will automate where we will iterate over this table dynamically in the sense that currently I know that in fourth row second column I am getting the customer id. Okay, but in the dynamic one, what can happen that you don't know at which location you are going to get the customer id, maybe at 5th or maybe at 10th. So you have to write one code where you can iterate and get a particular column. Okay, so that's what we are going to cover in that. Okay, so let's write the logic in Selenium now. So I'll just copy paste this XPath. We'll come here, and here I'll write one more method. I'll say public void, and the method name I'll write get customer ID. Okay, and in this, or instead of void, I'll change the return type to string, and here I'll say driver dot find element by dot what you're using XPath. The value of XPath is this, and then from this XPath, what you want to fetch? You want to fetch the text, right? So I'll say get text. So this will return us the text. What we'll do? We'll return that text. Okay, so I've just put a keyword return. Whatever text you'll get from here, you're returning it back to the method which will call it. Okay, so here I'll say string uh, customer ID equal to uh, guru dot get customer ID. Okay, so I have to save the complete file and all the errors are gone. Okay, so we got the customer ID. Next step is I just want to print that. So here I'll say customer ID is customer ID. Okay, so when I'll execute this code, you will get the customer ID as well. So you can see that a form is filled up. The customer ID here we have is 606, so it should have printed 606. Clear? Any questions, anyone? Okay. So let's have a break now, and after that we'll continue with the next scenario. Okay, so I'll just close it. We'll close this, and let's have a break for 5 minutes, 7 minutes. Sorry. Okay, see you after 7 minutes, and then we'll continue with uh, the same scenario. Okay, so we can continue now. Any questions, anyone, before that? Okay, so the next scenario which I'm going to automate in this is that once we fill up this form, like we after we fill up that form and then we have this customer ID. Yes, Sai, you have any questions? I cannot hear you, Sai. Okay, when we print the output, yeah. What's the question, Sai here? Okay, why did we write a return type? Sure. See, I'll explain you. What you can do is, see, currently we are running a scenario where I just wanted to show you this customer ID. Okay. In the next scenario, I'll be using this customer ID. So what happened? You can keep this as void and print it here, but that's not the actual purpose. Actually, I want to use whatever customer ID I'll get from this method. I want to use it in my next method. So the next method, if I'll show you here, is uh, adding a new account. So if I click on new account, it expects the customer ID. Okay. So why I'm returning this customer ID from this get customer method. I'm returning this. Whatever value you'll get here, you'll return this, and then you can receive that here. And in the next method, whatever I'll write, so I'll write a method public void add account. This is the new method, and here the uh, argument I'll take is string customer ID. Okay, now when you'll call this method here after this customer ID, if you'll call this method guru dot add customer, so I can use this customer ID. So whatever customer ID you'll get from here, you can use it here. Okay, so that's the reason that I put the return type as string. Okay, because my main purpose was not to print. My main purpose was to use that in my next method. Clear? Okay, no problem. Any other questions, anyone? Okay, so as just I showed you, this is the next step we have to do. And here, if you look at, there is one drop down as well. So we have to deal with drop down, and then I have to click on submit button. Okay, so the first step in this method is to click on new account. So if I check its HTML code, you can see that this new account, again, it's a link and it has a text as link text as new account. So I'll just copy it. So here we can write driver dot find element, then by dot link text, and the value of link text we have is this. And what you want to do with it, you just want to click on it. After I click on this new account, this forms appears. So first of all, I have to fill up this customer ID. So here, if I check the customer ID, it has a name as cus ID. So here I'll say driver dot find element by dot name. The value of name is this, and what you can do on it is send keys, and the value is the customer ID. So I'll just pass this customer ID. Okay, so just searching for the elements and then performing the operation. That's what you have to do main. Okay, after this, once we pass the user ID here, next step will be that I have to select one of the value from the drop down. So we have this drop down savings and current. So I want to select one of these two values, either savings or current. So let's talk about these drop downs first. So how they look. Okay, I'll come back to my demo.html, and here any drop down in HTML is identified with a with something known as select. So select is something which gives us options, or you can say this is something which is a drop down in your real HTML. So I use this select, and then there will be a closing text for select. Okay, now inside this select you can add options. So I'll say option, and all option have one attribute known as value. So it will be value equal to something. Say for example here I'm putting 1, and then you have a text associated with it. Let's say 1, and then I'll close this option. Okay, so I'll just copy it, paste it multiple times. Okay, so it will be, let's say 2, 3, 4, and then 5. So it will be, let's say 5. Okay, so this is a drop down. When I check its HTML code, if I just open that page in HTML in the browser, so you can see here I got a drop down. Okay, so in this drop down you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I'll do one more thing here. After this, I'll put a break so that you'll start seeing it in a new line. Okay, okay, so here you can see I have a drop down, and in this drop down you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So these are the values you see in a drop down. Okay, now okay, so it's clear that how this is, like how a drop down looks like in an HTML page. A drop down will always have a select tag, and in that, for the options you will have an option tag. An option will always have a value attribute, and it will have a text associated with it. Okay, then this drop down will also can also have some other attributes like an ID, like a name, and anything. Okay, so when you have to deal with a drop down in HTML in Selenium, okay, you have something known as a select class. Okay, you have to take one from org.openqr.selenium. Remember this very important point. To work with drop downs in Selenium, we have a class called select. You have to create an instance of that class. So you have to take one from this one. So you have to create one instance of that class, and I'll initialize that class. Okay, then in the argument of its constructor, so you can see here that this constructor is a parameterized constructor. Okay, so in this argument you have to pass what element you want to consider as a drop down. Okay, so here I will first define a web element. So I'll say web element. Let's say I'll name it as anything, or maybe select account. Okay, let's say I've just given this a name this, and it will be driver dot find element by dot. How can I identify that? So how can I identify this account type? So let's see. So this drop down can be identified with one attribute, which is a name. So I can use by dot name here. So I'll copy this value here in the code. I'll say by dot name, and the value of name is this. So what I did, I identified here on the page, I identified my drop down as a web element. Okay, so this drop down you see account type, this is identified as a drop down. Okay, so this is one web element I'm taking, and then this select account I'll pass in the argument. Okay, now this is a web element, this is plain web element, and then that particular web element you're considering as a drop down by creating an instance of select class. Any questions, anyone? So this is what you have to follow every time. You will create an instance of web element first to identify a particular web element which you want to consider as a drop down, and then that web element you will pass in the while you are initializing your while you are initializing your select. Okay. Okay, Nishta. So I'll explain it again. See, what we want is on our page, on our HTML page, we have this drop down, right? A drop down, I just explain how it looks like. This is how a drop down looks like. It will always have a select tag. In that select tag, you have one of the attribute, let's say ID. Okay, so the value of ID is, let's say, this something, or you can have anything like the HTML code I saw here. This select has an attribute called name. Okay, now uh, to work with a drop down in Selenium, there is a class called select. Okay, so from where you have to take one from org.openqa.selenium.support.ui.select. This is from where you have to use. Okay, then I created an instance of that class. Let's say I call it a drop down. I initialized it equal to new select, and then guys, just a second, just give me a second. Sorry. Okay, so what I was telling that we have created an instance of select class. We're calling it as drop down, and then you need to tell which web element you want to consider as a drop down. Okay, so this is the web element. I identified that particular web element here, and that same web element we are passing in the constructor. Okay, is it clear now, Nishta? Okay, Susie, you have a question. Some of the drop downs will not have a select tag. In that case, how do we approach? Okay, so that is something which probably will take some more time to explain, because what you can do is uh, you will find some of the drop downs where you will not have a select class. You will have something other. Maybe you can have a table, or maybe you can have a div table, and so on. So for all those, we have a different approach, but currently we have not covered so much that I can explain you that. Okay, so give me some more time, and then probably I'll be able to explain. Okay, okay. So we identified this particular drop down. Now what we have to do is we have to select from it. Okay, so actually to work with a drop down, we have 11 methods. So let me tell you what are those methods. Okay, and then we'll use any one. So if I talk about what are the methods available, then we have these many methods. First, talk about select methods. So if I just say select, you have these three methods: select by index, select by value, and select by visible text. Select by index is like selecting through index. In a drop down, you have multiple values. You want to select 1, 2, 3, and so on. So you can use select by index. If you have to select by these value attribute, then we have a select by value. Then we have a select by value. And if you want to select with the one which is visible, then it is select by visible text, the third one. Okay, so we have three options: either select by index, either select by value, or either select by visible text. Select by index is not used much because index are generally not a good way, because in a drop down your value may flip, some may come at the top or some may come at the bottom, or an order can change. So select by index is not a good idea. Okay, then we have select by value. So value, as I told you, that we have this value attribute. Okay, so if you want to select with this attribute, and uh, then this can be used. Okay, so the second one can be used. And if you want to select with the visible text, then the third one can be used. And the third one is select by visible text, and that is the most used one. Okay, so I'll say select by visible text, and then you can pass the value. Say for example, I want to select here I want to select current, so I'll simply say here current. Okay, so this will select the value from the drop down with matching text as current. Clear? Like this, we have many other methods. One of the method is multiple. Sometimes you might have observed that there are few drop downs which allow multiple selection. Okay, so if a drop down allows multiple selection, then this method called is multiple, this returns a true value. If a dropdown does not allow multiple selection, then it returns false. Okay, so is multiple is the method which can say whether a dropdown allows multiple selection or not. Okay, so I'll show you also what I'll do. I'll just print out what you get. So system.out.println. Here I'll say allows multiple selection. It will say true or false. So when I'll execute it, you will get to know whether it allows multiple selection or not. Okay. Now, if a dropdown allow multiple selection, then you can deselect some of the values as well. Let's say a dropdown has 10 values and you selected 4. Now you want to deselect few of them. Okay. So for that, uh, we have few deselect methods. There are four deselect methods: deselect all, deselect by index, deselect by value, and deselect by visible text. I guess with the name only they'll be clear. Deselect all is, let's say if a dropdown allows multiple selection and you have four selection and you want to deselect all of them in one go, then you can use this method called deselect all. Similarly, deselect by index is like passing the number and deselecting, and again index starts from 1. Then we have deselect by value. So value is the value attribute you see in the option, and deselect by visible text is the one where you can deselect by visible text, whatever is visible here. Okay, so that's what you can use in deselect. Any questions in deselect? Okay, so moving on, we have few get methods. So I'll show you the get methods. See, these are three get methods we have. First one is get all selected options. That means if in a drop down you have multiple options selected, then it will give us all those options. Then we have a get first selected option. So in a drop down, if you have, let's say, uh, there are many selected one, you want the first one, then this will give you the first selected option. And then we have a get options. This gives us all the options. But to demo this last part, I need we need to cover one more topic, and that is list. we need to cover list. So once I'll cover that, then only I'll explain you. Okay, so I'll just remove it. And yeah, so currently we have selected the drop down, and now last I'll fill up this initial deposit. So I'll just take out and we'll fill up this. So here I will say drop down dot uh, find element. Oh, sorry, not this one. Driver dot find element by dot name, and the value of name is this dot send keys, and here I'll just pass some value, some initial deposit, and then I'll click on submit button. So if we'll check the submit button, it has a name as btn2. So here it will be driver dot find element by dot name, and the value of name is btn2. What you can do on is click and done. So here, after adding the customer, we'll say guru dot uh, add account. Okay, add account we already have added, sorry. So I can execute it. Any questions, anyone? In any of the statement?
Saurabh, I have a doubt here.
Yes, Susie, tell me.
Yeah, select by visible text is nothing but whatever the currently default visibility, right? Or you can take any value from the drop down.
You can take any value of the drop down, whatever is visible. See here, in the words, what is visible to us? Saving and current. So you can use these two terms. Okay, if you don't want these text, then we have another option, that is using value. So if I check its HTML code, here you can see uh, in this options we have a value attribute, and then we have a visible text. So either you can use this or you can use this. Okay, so this is by value and
Okay.
this is by text. Currently in this particular example, both are same, but I gave you one more example where both were different. So you can use either this value or you can use either this visible text. Okay.
Okay, only after clicking the drop down, we are going to get the value, but we are not using any click option here, right?
No, no, no. After clicking, you'll not get. This is not the case. It does not work like that. You just use, that's why I was using the select class. Here you can see I'm using the select class, right? So all those things it will do automatically. I'll just demo you, you'll get an idea then. See, in the drop down, I'm just calling this method select by visible text, so it will automatically select. It will not click and then select from the drop down. That's not it. That's not how it works. Okay, so I'll demo it. Probably then you'll get an idea. Right click, run as Java application. So you can see it didn't click. It just selected current from automatically. Okay, and then it fill up the form and you are here. Clear? Any other questions, anyone? Any questions, anyone? Okay, so now you have it's the time I can give you next assignment. What you have to do is, whatever we have covered till now, all of those things you have to do yourself. And after that, here we have an account ID. So you need to get this account ID as well. Okay, after getting the account ID, so you know the code to get the account ID, right? Again, you will search for this table and then you will go to fourth row and then you will go to the second column, and from there you can fetch the value of this ID. Okay, so this is what you have to do. Then after you get this ID, next step will be that from here there is an option of deposit. So just go to this deposit, enter the amount, account number, enter the amount, enter some description, and click on submit. Do it 2-3 times. Okay, then you have deposit, then you can do the withdrawal part also. So same thing, you will get a drip withdrawal. And then we have this option of uh, creating generating mini statement. Okay, so go to this mini statement, and just a second. Okay, I have this account ID, right? So just go to this mini statement and enter this value, click on submit button. You will get a table. Okay, so once you'll complete all these things, like adding a new customer yourself, adding a new customer, then getting a customer ID, then adding a new account, getting the account ID, then next doing some deposit, doing some withdrawal. After all this thing is done, then you have to go to mini statement, enter the account ID, you get a table. And then this table, if you see, depends on how many transactions have you done, whether it's one or two or four or five. That means this table is a dynamic table. Okay, it changes based on the transaction. Okay, so what I'll explain you now is what I'll cover in that scenario will be that how to work with a dynamic table where you have multiple number of rows. Maybe you get a one row or you get n number of rows. Okay, so that's what we'll do. But before that, you have to cover up this assignment. So I give you a time till next Saturday. That is 29th. I guess it's 29th, right? Uh, Today is 23rd, next 30th. Okay, till 30th you have time, and on 30th I'll cover up this scenario. So by that time, please complete this assignment. I'll send you in mail as well what you have to cover. Okay, and then I'll explain you how to do this iterate over this table. Okay, so it's a good scenario to practice. Why I'm saying you complete it first, so that you will have all the other things in place and practice it yourself. Okay. So any questions till now, anyone? Okay. Okay. So just a second. Okay. So let's cover up the next topic. What we have. Okay, so next topic and cover is this iframe. Wait command I'll do tomorrow, because this is a topic where I want to start from fresh, because it's a very important topic. So I will cover it in detail tomorrow, and it will take almost 1 hour. So currently I'll cover this topic, which is iframe. Okay, iframe handling I'll cover. Any questions before that? This iframe, and then I'll also cover alert. These two topics I'll cover next. If you have any questions, do let me know. I'll start with this. Yes, Sai, you have any question? Yes, please. Mm-hmm. Okay. Uh, which this assignment you're talking about, the first one, right? Let me open it. Okay, that form which you get, that okay, got it. Yeah, that's also a kind of alert only. Okay, not alert. That is something I have to check. I don't remember actually what it is. Let me open it. Let me cover. Let me cover alerts first, and then probably you will get an idea. Okay, actually that is not an alert. I remember it. That is something I only inserted in my website. That's like a frame or a part of div which I added. Okay, so that's something which will also cover. Okay, and that time you'll be able to complete it. When I created that assignment, that time it was not there, so that's the reason you will not be able to see that in the scenario. Okay, so I'll explain you that. I'll cover later on. Okay, now I'll cover the alerts first. So let me open frame and alert. So there is one scenario I'll be taking up, and that is on W3 schools. I'll search for alert here. Okay, so this is one example. Currently, I'm taking you very basic example, but later on, uh, these scenarios, especially this alert part, is very frequent. So we'll get many scenarios where we'll handle different types of alerts. Okay, so before I start with alert or frame, okay, let's start with the frame first, and then we'll talk about the alerts. So what is a frame? Okay, now here you can see I have this page, this complete page with you. Okay, uh, okay, just a second, let me. Okay, it started showing. Fine, leave it. Okay, so what I was saying, that this page you see here, this page, we have multiple section in it. Okay, if you look at the HTML code, what I have to do is, on this page I have this button called try it. When I click on this try it, I get an alert. Okay, so this alert, which with what we have here, we have either an accept, or what you can do, if you press escape, it rejects, right? So this is an example of alert which gives us a warning or a message. Here, if I have an alert, I cannot do anything, either accepting it or rejecting it. So it blocks your view. Okay, so that's an example of an alert. But if I have to click on this tried button, let's see its HTML code. So if I check its HTML code, you can see that it's a button. But look at it properly. Before button, you have a body tag and then you have an HTML tag. See, an HTML is coming in another HTML. Okay, so how is it possible? That means we are embedding an HTML page in another HTML page. So we have this main HTML page, in that we are embedding another HTML page. So this is an example of inserting a page or embedding a page inside another page, and that is possible through this iframe. Okay, that is possible only through iframe. Okay, well, I'll give you one practical example which you will be able to understand that why we need iframe. Okay, you might have observed some of the websites where we have a Google map inserted in an application, in a website. Now, what is that Google map? How it get insert? So Google map in itself is, it's an HTML page. Okay, and when you are inserting that Google map in another HTML page, that is possible only through iframes. So what Google do is Google provides us one frame, and that frame we can insert. Similarly, you might have observed some of the YouTube videos getting embedded in a page. How they are possible? Again, they are possible because of this iframe concept. So what iframe helps us is iframe helps us in embedding another HTML page in our main page. Just like here, I embedded an iframe. Okay, I embedded an HTML page inside another iframe. Clear? Getting an idea how it happens, how it works? Okay, so the examples which I have given you, they are the real-time examples. You'll see them very frequently. Okay, and one more. So here you can see that this page we have, the page you see here, here we have a section. Here this is the section which is like a frame, and inside that frame we have this tried button. So I have to click on this tried button. Now how Selenium works. In Selenium, it cannot traverse inside a frame. You have to tell through code that switch to a frame and then uh, search for element inside that frame. So if we have a tried button, if I want to click on it, then I have to go to that frame and then only I can identify that button. Okay, so here how you write the code. So the code you'll write will be after adding. Okay, I'll create a new class file for this. So let's say I'm creating a class and I'll name it alert handling. Okay, so what I'll do, I'll keep the main method also in this and we'll write the complete script in main method only. Okay, so I'll just copy paste that invoke browser part. Okay, after navigating to this URL, so URL also I'll change it to this. Okay, so after navigating to this URL, I'm here on this page. So I want to go inside that frame, what I showed you. Okay, so here you can see I have this frame and I want to go inside it. So how you can do that? On my browser, there is a method called switch to. Switch to what? A frame. Okay, and look at what are the different ways you can switch. Either you can switch through an index, or you can switch through a string, or you can switch through a web element. This is an important identification as well, that what are the different ways of switching to a frame. So your answer should be that there are three ways. First, by index. Index is like the order in which the frames appear in the page, maybe 1 2 3 4 like this. And second is by the string. String is the ID. Here you can see this iframe has an ID and the value of this ID is this. Okay, so if you're passing that ID, say for example I'm passing iframe result, so this ID you will pass directly. Like if a frame has an ID, that can be passed directly, but if a frame does not have an ID, then we have to identify our frame as a web element and then we can pass. So quickly, three ways. First is an index, the order in which the frame is appearing. Second, if a frame has an ID, that you can use that ID directly. Third, if a frame does not have an ID, then you have to identify your frame as a web element and then switch. First, forget it, never use. Second, I gave you an example. Third, we'll see further. After maybe tomorrow or day after tomorrow, I mean in the next Saturday, I'll give you an example where we'll switch through frame ID. Sorry, we will switch through web element. Clear? Any question? So we have written a code to switch to a frame. Now we are inside this frame. Okay. Next step is I want to click on this tried button. So if you look at properly in this particular frame, in this particular frame, I have this HTML page, and here we have only one web element, that is this button. Okay, that means there is no other element having button, and this button does not have anything else, no name, no ID, and anything. So can I use tag name here? Because in this particular frame we have only one button, so we can simply use by dot tag name. So here I can say driver dot find element by dot tag name, and the value of tag name is button, and what you have to do on it is you have to click on it. So I can click on a button. Okay. Okay, so Shubhanshu, you have a question. Can we have multiple frames? Can you give an example? I don't have any example, but yes, you can have multiple frames in a page. Okay, currently I don't have any example. I have to search for such a page, but yes, you can have multiple frames. Okay, you can have multiple frames here. Okay, Sai has given an example. Selenium HQ has multiple frames. So let me open it. Selenium hq.org. So this website, where you're saying, at which section? Okay, this you're saying, or I can tell you how to search for frames. Let's say if you want to see how many frames are there, just go here, go to your, okay, not in this, you'll not be able to see because it does not show iframes. No, I'll not be able to see. Where here, Sai? So I need to search. I don't have any example for now. Okay, go to downloads. This you're saying? Okay, here you can see we have frames. You can see here frames and iframes are like same. So here you can see we have multiple frames on a page. Thanks, I good example. Uh, okay, who asked this question? Shubhanshu, you asked this question. Okay, and then Rupesh, you have a question. Switch to nth frame. Will we identify first all the frames and use if condition? Uh, can you just explain the exact requirement what you have? And Rupesh, can I just cover this up and then can you discuss this requirement? Okay, so let me just complete this example and then we'll discuss. Okay, so here we switched to that frame and then I just clicked on that button and that pops up a alert. So here as soon as I click on this tried button, I get a pop-up, okay, or an alert. Now we have to handle this alert. So to handle an alert in Selenium, we have a class called alert. So just type alert and you have to take one from org.openqa.selenium. Okay, I'll create one instance of it. Let's say alert equal to, then next will be driver dot find element, and then by dot sorry, not this, driver dot. Okay, so as soon as I got this alert, next step will be you have to switch to that alert. So there is a method called switch to dot alert. So in alert you don't have to pass anything because whatever alert you'll get, you can simply switch on that. Okay, so I got this, I switched to it. Next step will be you can either accept an alert, or you can dismiss an alert, or you can get text from an alert. So I can say alert dot get text. So get text is like getting the message from this alert. So here it will simply say hello, I am an alert box. Okay, so either you can accept it or you can dismiss it. So dismiss it is like pressing escape button, accept is like pressing OK button. And some of the browser also show a cross button, so like the other option can be like that also. Okay, clear? Any questions here? Okay, so here I've just added to get the text and I've also added to accept. Now I'll execute this code. So right click, run as Java application. Okay, actually it will be very quick, so you might not be able to see it, but here you can see that how hello I am an alert box is getting printed. And what I can do is before accepting an alert, I'll just put a small sleep. So there is a method called thread.sleep. What it do, it pauses your code for some time, and you have to pass the value in milliseconds. So it will be, let's say, 3000 here I've passed, and add throw declaration. It expects one exception. So I'll just add this. Okay, so yeah. So I just, what it will do, it will just pause your code for 3 seconds. Okay, now I'll execute the code. Right click, run as Java application. So that exception, whatever I have just added, for now let it be. Later on I'll discuss it in detail. So here you can see there was an alert which waited for 3 seconds, and then we accepted that. And here you can see hello I'm an alert box is printed. So all the alert scenarios will be like this. Simple 3 lines of code. First of all, create an instance of alert, switch to alert, and then get the message, and then either accept an alert or reject an alert. Okay, any questions, anyone? Okay, so for other topics in Selenium, I have to cover a few more scenarios in Java first. So probably for tomorrow, I'll start with Java again. Okay, Nishta, you have a question. No need to initialize this alert class. I have initialized, right? See, I told you that there are two ways. One is either by using that new keyword. Okay, so in new keyword, you are first giving a space or a memory and then assigning values. Here, we are directly giving assigning values to it, just like we did it in static way of assigning an object to a class, to an array. Okay, so this is also a way. Here I just created an instance of alert. This alert is an interface, so in interface we'll discuss in detail later, but I created an instance of alert and then assigned the values directly. Okay, so it's like initialization happens in the same line. Okay, and other topics in Selenium, I have to cover Java first. So probably tomorrow I'll start with few topics of Java, and then we'll come back to Selenium again. Okay. Okay, guys. So today, can we have class today till today? I mean, till this time. Okay. So please complete all the scenarios which I just mentioned. I'll upload the video just after the class. And if anyone has any question, do let me know. I can take up now. Any one-to-one discussion, if anyone wants, we can have instead of 1:30 to 2:30, we can have now. Okay. Yes, Sai, add pop-up in QA Tech that is a frame only. That will be a frame most probably. Let me open it here. Here it will come. Yeah. So if I check its HTML code, okay, and so here if I check, see here, it's a div. Yeah, it's a div. So here we have this div. So I inserted this as a div which has an ID as pop-up form. So if you have to get rid of this cross button here, okay. So if I show you this cross button, what we have, if I inspect this cross button, it's an image. Okay, here if you can see, it's an image which has an ID this. So you have to search this web element, or you can use this ID close button and this, and then click on this button. This will close it. Okay, so using alert, it will not go because the code is written in such a way that it appears to be a pop-up, but actually it's not a pop-up. It's a div which is a part of your page on it's only. Okay, so there are many ways of showing this kind of pop-ups. One of the way is like this, showing a div which had the code is written in such a way that it appears like this. So here you don't have to switch to this particular pop-up or window. It's not a window, it's not an alert, so you don't have to switch. Just identify the web elements directly and then perform the operation. One more example quite similar to this I can give. Okay, there is a website called flipkart.com. Okay, it's an Indian e-commerce site. I'll open it. Okay, so here if you see we have a login button. So if I click on this login button, I get this. So people might think that this is also a alert, but again if you'll check its HTML code, sorry, not take screenshot, yeah. Again, if you'll check its HTML code, you will observe that again it's not a pop-up or something. Okay, this is a div. Okay, what happened? Uh, yeah. So again, if you'll see, it's not a pop-up. It's a by chance, by mistake, I've clicked on take screenshot. Let me open it again. So here we have this login button. I'll click on this login button, and if I check it's this particular thing, this is the div. Okay, it's a div again represented in form of alert. Okay, so this email ID, this password, when you have to search for these two, what you have to do is you have to identify your web elements in such a way that first you identify this div, and with respect to that you can identify these two elements. Okay, so that's how they are. Any questions? Now you can try 5 or 6 assignments from Guru 99. Sorry, not Guru 99, from QA Tech Hub. Let me go to QA Tech Hub, and here we have assignments. So other than eBay site, you can try all the others one. Yeah. So other than this fourth assignment, you can try now all other assignments. See if you face any issue, then we'll take up. Okay, Nishta, you have a question. How do we know it's a div or an alert? Uh, Good question. Uh, Anyways, you'll get to know because if you have an alert, like I showed you that time, if you'll get any alert, let me open that alert window again. If you get an alert like this, you'll not be able to do anything on the other website. Everything else will be like grayed out and you'll not be able to perform anything. Okay, either you can accept it or reject it. But if you'll have a non-alert type of pop-up like a div, just like we have here, then you can see when I clicked outside, that div was gone. Okay, or you can see that it has other options as well. You have username, entering username, you have password, then you have a cross button, you have advertisement as well. In in alert, you will have two options only, either to accept or to reject. Whereas on these divs or on these frames, you will have many more options. Then going forward, what you can do is right click on it and use inspect element with Firebug or normal inspect, and then check its HTML code. That's how you'll get to know. Okay, Nishta? Okay, so as you can try logging in into Flipkart as well. This is also a good assignment to practice. Then we have a Snapdeal, but for Snapdeal we have to cover one small topic. Probably tomorrow, instead of starting Java, I'll take up that topic. Okay, so here we have to do a mouse over and then click on login button. So this is another good scenario. Mouse over to the sign in and then click on login button, and then you get a screen like this. Okay, so if you check its HTML code, it's a div. Okay, now they are showing like a div. Earlier they used to show like a frame. Now they have removed the frame. Okay, fine. So you can again use it as a div. I thought it will be a frame again, but they have removed that frame. So you can enter the email ID, then click on continue and like so on. Okay, so for this we need one more scenario which I'll cover tomorrow. Then probably you can start with the other things. Okay, so any other questions, anyone? So you have a lot of things to practice. You can practice till next Monday, and tomorrow I'll cover up. Let's start Java from next week only. Let's cover up tomorrow topics like I'll cover weights in Selenium, and then also I'll cover next topic is mouse operations. So I'll cover wait commands and mouse operations tomorrow complete, and then from next we can start back to Java. We'll cover a few topics in Java and then we'll come back to Selenium. Okay, most probably by October mid. Okay, one more. Okay, let me just stop the recording first.